Alright, ladies and gentlemen, things are underway for the first game here. We are going to be going into a matchup between NaVi and Speed Gaming. We have some stats to pull up real quick before we get into the draft itself. Looking over at what the Dota 2 Champions League has produced for NaVi, we have their current lineup, which has remained unchanged for several months, and pretty good statistics for them. Overall, they are looking really, really good. Minimal chance to throw, very reliable in general, but the big thing to look here is the aggression. For NaVi, they're all over the place. They have a lot of very active tactics across the board very early on, especially Puppy and Kurokai supporting and roaming actively. Along with that, we're going to be looking over at Speed Gaming and seeing that they have kind of similar statistics, a little bit more chance to throw. They do have some more of the unpredictable characters on their team, but as a whole, they have shown great strides as far as taking on the top-tier teams recently, and they've been improving their roster throughout the past several months under a couple different names. Previously, Rattlesnake International, and before that, they were looking at Kaipi Gaming, of course. So, thanks for tuning in to this Dota 2 Champions League. It's a best-of-3 match between NaVi and Speed Gaming. And getting into it, I'm going to introduce my co-caster. What's going on, Vigormon?
Nice to talk to you, Blaze. What's going on is I don't even know what to think. It's a brave new world. The two teams weren't 100% clear on what version we'd be playing on, but there actually is no old version now.
Exactly.
As of 5 minutes ago, everything from now on is going to be in this new 6.79. So, I mean, both of us have read the patch notes. I don't know what your take on the patch overall is, but it might get a little crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to see a lot of shifts. I'm still kind of clinging to the old stuff a little bit as we transition. I'm sure they may have scrimmed a little bit in regards to 6.79 and that kind of mindset, but
you think?
Still, it's possible. I definitely think I think they should have scrimmed, maybe just even 2 games to get used to the new feel of it, but that's no guarantee that they actually have, and for all we know, this is their first 6.79 game, so that could be cool. But the bottom line is the patch changed a lot of things, and in my opinion, it's going to shift the meta very dramatically towards roaming and active engagements early on. The supports will have more items to work with, and different things like the Tranquil Boots and emphasis on runes because of the regen nerfs. I really think that we're going to see a lot of activity early on, and surprisingly, that's perfect for these two teams, NaVi and Speed.
Absolutely. Especially NaVi, who plays that all-out aggressive style. I'm sure that they weren't tremendously fond of the 104, or just having somebody in the mid, 3 people in the safe lane, and 1 person in the jungle, which a lot of the changes in the patch were definitely targeted at reducing that. One thing that hasn't changed, or at least hasn't changed just yet, considering the patch is 5 minutes old, is the first ban phase.
Yeah.
Elder Titan, Batrider, Chen, Troll, these are very, very, very familiar faces. Elder Titan was barely touched. His Astral Spirit damage was reduced a bit, but other than that, he wasn't changed. In fact, in my opinion, the biggest nerf to Elder Titan was that other heroes that you might want to ban were nerfed. But this is new. First pick Night Stalker with 4-minute Night. I am so excited to see this Blaze. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is going to be so exciting. He's obviously going to be going on the mid lane. Well, I mean, he doesn't have to, but that's where I would presume he would be. Just because he has so much more control in roaming and ganking with the runes. But in turn, we see a Lich picked up from Speed Gaming and his potential there. Now, Clockwork wasn't modified too much, but Lich got this really cool change to his sacrifice specifically, which was the fact that he can give a stimulus of experience to allies, and if you do it out of range of the enemy heroes, it still denies that creep. So it's really just getting an experience advantage, and that means winning the lanes, which is something Sing Sing talked about a long time back when Mousesports first banned Lich, was because of the fact that he guarantees the victory of the lane. Kind of fell out when tri-lanes became the 100% standard, but now we're seeing him back.
Right. So I think Lich definitely extremely powerful now. Also, Frost Armor is sick even against ranged carries now because it affects both of them, and it stacks its slow effect with his Frost Blast. Do you think this is Lich mid, Blaze?
Hard to tell right now with the draft and with so many changes. There's so much up in the air. I definitely think Lich is a good pickup for the mid lane, but I could still see him as a dual lane support or something like that, roaming around with Tranquil Boots.
His off lane is amazing now too because the creep wave comes closer to the tower, much closer. So he was already a pretty good off laner, and now he can off lane safely and suck away XP from that lane. So that's certainly possible. The one reason I think he might be mid here is Night Stalker really wants levels, so if Lich gets a huge advantage over Night Stalker in that mid lane and keeps Night Stalker from being able to use that really short, really early first Night to gank, I don't know. We might see. I guess there's got to be Dendi Night Stalker. We'll see what he does.
Yeah, I would presume. In turn, we're looking at Speed Gaming picking up Bone 7's Clockwork. He's always been picking up that hero and doing a lot of different things with it. He's a very, very good offlaner with that specifically, so that's why I think Lich is probably going to be a number 2 or a number 4. But the great thing is now he really will be able to put that money and experience to use. His Chain Frost has always been really, really good, but now he also can pick up early items like Tranquil Boots, which are pretty much the perfect boots for Lich now. Like, there's no doubt about it. That's every single stat that he possibly needed, and that's going to be really nice for him in general. As far as the timing, like you said, Night Stalker is very experience dependent. He will always hit level 5 by the first night at 4 minutes, but he won't be able to hit level 6 unless he gets a kill and doesn't get denied too extensively, which Lich excels in. So that's a pretty big deal if you want to try to do some gimmicks like Darkness reducing Observer Ward range on the rune spawn, and for that first night, that kind of thing. Beyond that, it's just, yeah, Night Stalker wants to steamroll, and Lich doesn't really give him that opportunity.
Somebody just mentioned to me, in fact, that for certain heroes, I don't know if Speed's going to pick them, but if Darkness is active with the new vision reduction, their vision is smaller than their attack range, so they can't actually auto-attack things at their top range.
That's awesome.
It's interesting Navi still values Lifestealer so highly. There were quite a few nerfs. I mean, he's been nerfed repeatedly, and again in this patch, his Rage is a longer cooldown, so he's able to, you know, be magic immune for even less of a time. And I think there were a couple other changes that affected him.
There was an armlet
animation change.
Yeah. 10 seconds. The armlet change, I would say, is not going to be the biggest deal in the world. It's actually still going to allow you to micromanage it pretty effectively. You can tank in a couple of auto attacks. You might not be able to survive a huge burst by doing a full toggle to back to 500 HP, but as a whole, I think it's a relevant change so that you can't macro it. It's so that you don't guarantee just survive just by hitting that button over and over. But as far as his biggest limitations now, his magic immunity is a lot shorter. He's going to be penned in by the Clockwork, slowed down and sapped up by the Razor, and also his open wounds isn't going to be as good with a slightly increased animation.
Right, his cast point. That's the thing I was missing. So yeah, I mean, Lifestealer, Navi clearly still values him. It's still one of Hwost's best heroes. Might be a little bit of adjustment time required to figure out all the different new ways that you have to play him. But other than that, these drafts, after the crazy first picks, we've seen 4 fairly standard picks, at least for 6.78. I am excited to see Puppy's Enchantress with the new jungle, see if it makes any sort of difference. A couple changes there. Obviously, the medium and small camp got switched. Also, the level on some creeps got reduced, so that's a little bit less XP. Although maybe that doesn't affect Enchantress that much, actually. She should be just about the same. Maybe even slightly faster.
Yeah, I mean, she should be in a pretty good position. One thing is, if her creeps die by the enemy's hand, they won't give as much experience. Enchantress herself, she'll be about on the same level as far as getting that experience actively, and of course the active skills still do the same thing, so she will still be able to manage the jungle very effectively, and I think that's a good reliable pick from Navi. They say, okay, well, here's a hero that she has a couple changes that we want to get used to, but we're not going on the deep end. We're not first picking Invoker here. We're just trying to do something that can work our strategies through.
Invoker, it's funny you say that. I think Invoker's secret legit. We've been seeing him a little more lately, and they did first pick Night Stalker, so Navi, I haven't seen them run Night Stalker in ages. Like, it's been a while. And it's not a hero they were, even when it was played a lot more, they weren't particularly known for it, but it's a very, very strong hero. We've seen Alliance run it. Obviously, they did in the grand finals of TI3. Other than that, this is mostly normal. I mean, all these heroes got at least some changes. Visage has a very, very, very bad magic resistance base now. It's only 10%.
Oh, yeah.
But that actually doesn't matter at all against a team that does only physical and pure damage to you.
Yeah, I mean, he did also lose 1 point in armor, but again, that really isn't going to be the biggest factor unless they really put immense emphasis on right-clicking him down, and that means Enchantress participating in every try versus try engagement, assuming this is try versus try. Again, new meta, according to most people's analysis of the changes, dual lanes are a lot stronger, tri lanes a lot weaker, so could even see like a 2 versus 2.5 or something.
Do you think that'll happen? There'll be a lot more duels, even in this game?
It's definitely possible. I think that they're, like I said, they're trying to cling to the old ways and trying to be they're kind of being dragged kicking and screaming into 6.79, so I think they're going to try to go for like a 1 versus 2.5 and just kind of keep things the way they were and just take things a step at a time. But I looking at these lineups and the changes, I think it is viable for them to go for like a Razor Visage bottom or something like that. Just try to survive and get some good experience and know that as long as you're near the creep pole, that you're not losing too much from that mechanic.
Right. Yeah, I do think that early on in a meta like this, and this is as early as you can get, I mean, the patch went live a whopping 10 minutes ago, you're going to go with what you know and just try to pick heroes that, like, you've already been practicing but have been buffed. So I'm sure people have been playing around with Lich. It's not like he went from 0 to hero. He was already a strong hero. He's received substantial buffs, so if it was already a pocket pick that Speed Gaming were considering, and I haven't seen it from them yet, but that doesn't mean they weren't scrimming with it. Just run your standard lineup, add a couple really good heroes to the mix, and you'll be fine for at least a few weeks while everybody else gets their bearings, and then maybe you see some more radical strategies coming out.
Now, one thing I want to say is that Night Stalker has always been one of my favorite heroes to watch because of the aggressive dynamic and the shift of the pace of the game that he adds to the hero pool there. But one thing is that Speed Gaming has drafted immensely effectively against him. If you think about who he goes on here, he doesn't really have great options. Like, if you want to go on the Clockwork, and you don't want to get cogged out, you have to silence him, but then you're silencing a Clockwork as opposed to 3 other casters. Along with that, the Lich Ice Armor will make sure that he's not exactly on target. Same thing with the Razor's passive, getting purged every time he tries to go for a Void or a Cripple. He can't stay on him. And finally, the Grave Chill. All of these things just making him very kiteable, making it so they can maneuver around him rather effectively. And Night Stalker really, really needs to get those auto attacks in because he has that increased attack speed. He wants to be on the front line, and most of this draft is designed to avoid just that.
Definitely. I think they've definitely drafted very adeptly around Night Stalker. The question is if they can shut down Host's Lifestealer. I feel like that's a little bit less answered, especially when he is in that rage. Maybe the increased cooldown will really help them there, and they'll just lock him down with the new Frost Armor or something afterwards. Speed Gaming have an opportunity to pick up another support if they don't want to use Lich as a support. I think they could go with Rubik. No, they go with Bone 7 Mirana. So, Bone 7 is amazing on this hero. He's one of the better players of Mirana, I feel. They run it as an alternate farmer, and just as they set up all sorts of nasty things with the Sacred Arrow. But this does mean that Bane, I feel, is pretty free here to get some things done. I guess the only issue is he could get mini-stunned by something like Lich Ultimate, or even Clockwork, I guess.
Yeah, plenty of stuns from the Clockwork to deal with the Bane, but with the right positioning, I agree with you. Fiend's Grip could come out, and there it is. I was wondering if we were going to see it. Like, 3 people messaged me and were like, are we going to see Blink Dagger Pudge? And I'm like, I have no idea, but here it is. Dendi is playing the Pudge, Funnick is on the Night Stalker, and
wow,
welcome new meta,
to
boys.
6.79.
Oh, this is going to be awesome.
Dendi wants to play with the new Pudge. The question is if he's going to go Blink Ag's Pudge, because that's obviously the new hotness.
This will be
wow,
crazy.
So yeah, Funnick Night Stalker. I guess this could be too... Well, they're running Puppy on Enchantress, so depending on which jungle he decides to go in. In fact, if this ends up being a contested jungle, that's going to be like the perfect intro to 6.79, because the shared XP, the different camps, this could get pretty brutal if Puppy decides to jungle aggressively.
Yeah. So right now, I believe Speed Gaming, they're waiting for the last pickup for Bone 7 o'clock. They're trying to figure out how these picks are going to play out as far as where Navi is laning, and I'm a little bit uncertain about that as well. I mean, we look at it, we see, of course, that they picked up 2 heroes that'd be great in the solo mid, but they could lane all of these in different ways. I mean, we could see like Funnick's solo bottom with Puppy in the jungle and do that dual lane top, because I was talking about dual lanes earlier, or we could see something weird like an attempt for an offlane Night Stalker. I don't know.
It's a brand new world, Blaze. I feel like I know basically even if I knew nothing about Dota before, now I'm like way, way, way less than knowing nothing. Because yeah, I don't know how they're gonna lane. I know that Pudge is going mid. It would be very, very, very strange if Dendi Pudge were to not go mid. But that's the only anchor I have in this free-floating, confusing new world. Hold me.
Indeed. And Aoi's 2000 is kind of having a rude awakening here when he's realizing the Doom Syndrome. He has negative 2% physical damage resistance. He has no armor whatsoever. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Negative 2%. Damn, that's Doom levels, like you said. Quost, meanwhile, is saying, I love new version. It's so much fun for me with this new hero. Because, yeah, he's playing a hero who's exactly the same, except worse in basically every metric. Still good, but worse.
So, real quick, I want to go through the roster so we can jump into exactly... Actually, there's one thing I have to hit on right now. Dual pooled tangos They pulled 1 Tango for 2 slots for Havos, so they're still trying to do the regen pool, and to some extent it'll work, but it's just so funny that they really, really want to just no matter how many inventory slots you have to fill, we're going to give you HP regen.
You can't stack the shared tangos?
Nope.
That's terrible.
Nope. You can give somebody a full tango, but it takes 4 inventory slots. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see that.
There you go.
Man, I don't even know how to deal with this. Meanwhile, Pylai die, Bone 7, heading to bottom lane. This could just be dual Clockwork Lich lane, I guess. And mid Mirana? Sure, why not?
Yeah, and then the Lich kind of roam around wherever he wants, sacrifice whatever lanes he feels are the most important to take away that experience, and yeah, just kind of give each individual hero what they need as far as the experience advantage. So that'll help a lot. But yeah, let's go through the rosters real quick, as I was mentioning. Sure. We are starting off with NaVi. We have Puppey playing the Enchantress, Dendi on his signature Pudge, Kurokai moving towards the top lane right now with the Bane, and then we do have Funnick on this Night Stalker, leaving potentially solo, with the exception of the jungle, Havos on the Lifestealer.
Yeah. Looking over towards Speed Gaming on the Dire. They want to start off... is this their first game in the Champions League? I think it is.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so they definitely want to start off with a bang. New patch, facing Navi in your first game. Why not? Let's do this. Bone 7 on the off lane is Clockwork, potentially joined by Pylai Die on the new and improved Lich. In the middle, it'll be Sing Sing on Mirana, and on the top lane, it'll be another dual lane, so 2-1-2 all the way for Speed Gaming. It's Eternal Envy on the Razor. He's joined by AUI 2000 on the definitely not too much armor Visage. And yeah, that'll be Speed Gaming. Mirana versus Pudge in the mid. I actually think this is quite a good lane for Mirana.
Yeah.
Her base damage might be low, but it's more than enough to harass Pudge effectively due to his terrible starting armor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, if you follow Sing Sing's guide on how to play Mirana, you throw arrow, you hit arrow, you win the game. So
right.
We'll see if he can get that formula to work out. But he actually got some tangles pulled himself. He pretty much went with his previous build up of Wraithband and the Salve, and they pulled him literally 3 tangos with 3 inventory slots. So that is a fun little way to try to make it work. But
one old style tango, basically, right?
Exactly.
So that's not so bad. It takes a tremendous amount of inventory slots, but he wasn't using those anyway since he started Wraithband. Which is probably the right start for Mirana in the middle anyway. So actually, for Sing Sing, the main changes are just that he has to use more hotkeys. Not that really the experience is all that different.
Exactly. So, on pause as it comes out, we do see Dendi playing around with the taunt of Pudge, and now we do see 30 seconds until creep spawn. Starting off, who do you think has the draft advantage, and how do you think this game's going to play out?
I honestly... Just on the pure, if we don't think about the teams at all, the draft, I kind of like Speed Gaming's more. They have an awkward sort of situation where both of their carries are these sort of semi-carries that don't necessarily just go out and kill everybody. But as you highlighted during the draft stage, Blaze, they should have more than enough tools for having Night Stalker not be a major factor in the game. And, I mean, Mirana's going to be fine against Pudge mid, and Lifestealer's quite a bit nerfed. I actually think this hero is substantially weaker than he once was. That said, even if we like Speed Gaming's draft, we're talking about Dendi Pudge here. We're talking about Dendi Punch with access to Blink. I'd be terrified facing this.
Yeah, I mean, you already see the ward go down in the mid lane. Mirana wants to know exactly what she's up against as far as these hooks go. Skilling of the leap immediately. Like you said, the armor advantage is there for Sing Sing, just kind of poking and prodding at the Pudge, who does not have a stout shield. And then, even if he ever does land a hook, if he doesn't have Dismember, the leap is still going to be there. Sing Sing can still get away if the damage itself does not kill him. So I think he's actually in a really good position, and that means it's on Puppey to make his rotations, to maybe help out with a Wild Wing or some other creeps. In the meantime, on top lane, a little bit back and forth here. Do have the static link applied to Kurokai, but yeah, it's just dual lane versus dual lane, a bit of back and forth, and a little bit of pub Dota with that haste rune.
Yeah, I think we're all set for some pub Dota, Blaze, and it's kind of great. I mean, people can actually see the pros playing the game the way that they play, rather than, what is this, tri-lane nonsense that I would never do in my pub games. I mean, in the bottom, it's basically 2v1, because Puppey still has to level. Actually, Hvos throws out an open wounds on Bone 7. Just to put a red icon on him, though, I think, because Puppey's not nearly close enough to do anything about this.
Yeah, I get maybe he's testing out the open wounds, the new open wounds, just so he doesn't screw it up in the future. To be honest,
Puppey's already landed a hook, by the way. There's Sing Sing's salve already used.
Yeah, Dendi already on point. I have no idea. But yeah, I mean, he's already on point there. We do see some contest in the pull camp jungle over on the Dire side. The sentry is down, sees the observer ward, but they cannot bring it down just yet, so that might mean blocking off another pull. And in the meantime, we actually see a big rotation from the Centaur of Enchantress. Puppy brought this all the way from his jungle all the way to top lane. And that's actually kind of surprising, but it could work out for them very well if the timing was a little bit better. The Nightmare with the Centaur Stomp setup will guarantee 2 targets on 1.
I don't think... That's actually really, really funny. I can't believe that denying wards is now a thing because you take away gold. So AUI was counter-warding, and Kurokai killed his own ward just to make sure that AUI's Visage couldn't get the gold. Yeah. Damn.
Nice.
Some serious new meta.
There you go. It's just like two people sitting right next to it waiting for the last hit as if it's a tower kill right there. But yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Taking 50 gold off the board. It's very, very relevant. So now we see down bottom, yeah, Paladai stalking with the Invis rune. Sees his target of choice, but doesn't really have the backup just yet as Clockwork's only level 3.
Yeah, and he himself is only level 2, so it's just a Frost Blast doing 75 magic. It's not really worth it for him to come out of Invis there. Pudge might be a different story, but Dendi is currently playing quite safe. He avoided the arrow, it hit one of the melee creeps, so it might not be the easiest thing. They go for Frost Blast.
Oh wow, this could be a kill. The Starfall comes out, right clicks are there, and it is going to finish him off before the deny can come across. So, first blood against Dendi Pudge. That's Sing Sing on the Mirana.
Yeah, we got some people getting the very, very first epics of the new patch, so those might be worth a little bit on market. And of course they are first blood on Dendi, which isn't something you see every day. I think Pudge is still probably okay. I mean, he's leveling. Yeah. Puppy is doing a smoke gank. Might just try to turn this right around on Sing Sing, I think. No, I might just go top.
He has a couple of great creeps, but the Hellbear Smasher is gonna expire most likely before he sees any action, leaving just a troll. And although they have a bit of a pincer formation, they have to be in the right position to make this work. Here they go. It starts off with the Link. He's gonna try to walk away, but the Link still stays. So Nightmare gets traded around a little bit here and there, but it looks like they're not gonna be able to connect on any target. Everybody just walks away, and despite a lot of motion coming from Puppy, they don't net a single kill.
Yeah, this is my concern for Navi's lineup, Blaze, is that Funnick is barely level 4. He'll get it from this catapult. He won't even, because there's 3 people here. He's not level 4, and first night just started. Is a Night Stalker with two things in Void and 1 point in Hunter in the Night really going to be able to get that much done? I mean, I don't know, honestly. Maybe, but it seems iffy.
It's technically possible. It's, of course, an improvement from just sitting there with absolutely no benefits to your hero, but at the same time, you make an excellent point. If that's not working for him, if he's not getting those levels early, that this first nighttime will expire before he gets much benefit out of it at all.
Or maybe I'm completely wrong.
Ooh, here we go.
Right
yeah, big damage coming out, potentially, if they could actually get in range. The Night Stalkers, Hunter the Night, allowing him to get out of dodge. But again, the TP reaction, just making sure that they can play it safe, and they don't really have to worry about the pressure coming forth from Navi, which is a pretty big deal. Like we said, high aggression, and if you can deal with it, you can keep your heroes alive towards the mid-game where you're a lot more stable with Mechanism. I definitely think that they're going to be in a better position for this game.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, mid lane.
Sing Sing, now the one to be targeted.
Yeah, looking for an opportunity to sleep him up, but Sing Sing jumps up the cliff, and he is going to be safe and sound as well.
Smart. These rotations from Navi's supports are really not getting much of anything done. And it poses a problem when you try to dive Razor like Funnick did there, because hey, I mean, he pushes the static link button, and all of a sudden you have 0 auto attack damage. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like the Night Stalker has gotten much done. Puppy's been sending his creeps all over the place. Hasn't actually decided what he's leveling other than Enchant, so he's holding on to that, but unless they start getting Dendi's Pudge online, I do feel that Razor and Mirana are just going to start spiraling.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. They have a lot of range of initiation with the hookshot, with the arrow, and they can indeed go on positions that were considered safe. So when they get the right heroes in the right position with the nighttime active, it actually might favor them more than anybody else, because they have the opportunity to, with Rocket Flare and other different things, to get vision and catch people off guard.
Yeah, now it is worth noting that once Funnick has his ultimate, that could change, because their vision will be so bad just with the darkness penalty. That's another ability that it just changes the way the game is played to an extent where it's hard to tell how much impact it's going to have.
Right now, I-2000 with only 4 armor is going to get clapped by the Centaur. A second stun will come out. This should be the first kill for Navi, and indeed, it is claimed by Funnick.
Yeah, that was really nice, clean play there. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, just the presence of Lich early on has guaranteed clockwork.
Oh, Dandy starting off with a dismember onto Sing Sing, has haste, has leap, but this hook, can he juke it well enough? Yes, he can. Oh, the creep gets in the way. And now Dendy's in a bad position, turning around with the right clicks here. Puppey tries to come and save the day. Dendy gonna try to rot for his suicide. 3 HP. Pilot Eye on the run. Moonlight Shadow goes across, and I don't think they have detection.
They don't. Yeah, meanwhile, I was just going to mention that Bone7 was kind of dominating Kvost, and now he's not only dominating him, he's a half level ahead and just got a kill on him. In addition to 35 for 9 for him, only 23 for 1 for Kvost. And that's basically the presence of the Lich early when they were running that dual lane. Although supports are now just non-stop roaming trying to set up ganks, except for AUI, he hasn't done too much yet.
So, what do you think Na'Vi needs to do to keep this pressure rolling and to get more momentum than what they've currently found? Obviously, they're trying a lot of things with Puppey and his neutrals, but it seems like Speed Gaming's one step ahead. Do we just need to see some baller hooks or what?
Well, baller hooks are definitely part of the plan. You really can't run a bunch of
arrow on Kurokai? No, I don't think they fall.
I don't think it's anything. In my opinion, they badly need a tier 1, and it would be preferable for it to be mid. They've got 2 siege creeps here, so they have an opportunity. I mean, just the siege creeps by themselves are going to bring this to half. If they can get the tier 1 mid, it gives Pudge a lot of room to operate, because he can, without being seen, walk this way, walk this way. Night Stalker really, really wants there to be some space for him to go into the enemy jungle or around as well. So, in my opinion, right now, they desperately need this tier 1, and I think that's why they're clumping up for it.
Yeah, day strikes now, 8 minutes in. Darkness will be available with this level up that's going to come shortly, but I really don't... Oh, actually, hookshot in. It's going to be an infested lifesteal right on top of Bone7, bursting him down hard, but there's an arrow on Funnick. They claim one, but here comes that Chain Frost. Puppey's creep might do more harm than good. Eternal Envy turns around onto Kurokai, going to get a couple of good right clicks in, but shouldn't be able to finish him off. And that means Night Stalker and Clockwork are going to be the only 2 kills claimed.
Yeah, but honestly, I think that's a decent trade for Speed Gaming, all things considered. They could have killed more, but even just to trade Night Stalker, who's a pretty important part of this Na'Vi strategy, for Clockwork, who's not the most item-dependent hero in the world when you come down to it, especially going this Blade Mail build. Blade Mail is cheap.
Yeah.
So it's no problem for him to afford this, even if he dies a couple times. Whereas Funnick, anytime he doesn't spend leveling right now, is going to really hurt this Night Stalker's ability to provide anything for this game.
100% agree with you there. The Blade Mail is kind of the one thing that Bone7 remains consistent with his Clockwork play. He gets this like 80% of the time or something along those lines, and really he does have a lot of potential with it against anybody but Lifestealer. Of course, the Rage will nullify that quite a bit, but the bottom line is Bone7 will play more aggressively when he gets that opportunity. Actually, Puppey in a bad spot. Doesn't get hit by the arrow, but gets hit by everything else, and that's enough magic to finish him off really quickly.
Yeah, interestingly, I don't think Puppey even moved. The arrow was just a straight up whiff. So, Sing Sing maybe not following his own advice, but he's far enough ahead on levels relative to this level 5 Enchantress that just using Starstorm max rank. Oh, they actually use the Moonlight Shadow.
I don't know if they're going to get anything out of that. No, I don't think they're going to get anything out of it. Up on top, they might have been able to pick Funnick, but he was wise enough to fall back before that could have been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, Moonlight Shadow it's okay to just use it and see if you can set something up. The cooldown's fairly long, but the game's not going that quickly just yet anyway, so they can always get this back by the next time they need it.
Sure.
He is going to walk right into Funnick.
Oh, right here, the Feeds Grip comes across. That should be a guaranteed kill. Funnick loses a little bit of attack speed, but finishes the job. And now Lich is actually in a bad spot. Darkness popped. Here comes the Void and Lich. Oh no, the hook from Dendy pulls Funnick away from an almost guaranteed kill. Oh.
Is that not Russia server hooks right there?
That's when you type -ping with a space in front of it so that your allies can see it.
Ping, ping. Yeah, but still, Sing Sing kind of giving one away to Funnick there. He almost got 2. So for the Night Stalker, that's... I mean, he has Phase Boots, he has Bottle. Kind of a gift given to him.
Yeah, exactly that. And now that allows them to actually move into more of a teamfight stage. Lich has his levels, he's got his ultimate back up, they're smoking up, and they want to put out some pressure. Looking at top at the moment, but we might even see a clash before that if they move the right direction. No, it looks like yellow's going to be a little bit too far south. So yeah, they're just going to try to gang up on top of Funnick, who has lost a lot of damage, but not too much HP.
He lost barely anything. I actually think maybe the static link was a little early. Eternal Envy chased him off the lane before AUI was in range to Grave Chill.
Yeah.
If they land the Grave Chill, it's a completely different story. In fact, they spent a smoke, all 5 heroes, like
might still pay off. Counter smoke coming out. It's going to be Cogs from Bone 7. Trapped in. You can't get your Dismember off. They're trapped in with the Chain Frost. Huge damage. And even Bone 7 survives. 2 for nothing.
Wow, brutal. That Chain Frost within the Cogs is going to do a lot of work. And yeah, easy kill on both the Pudge and the Bane. It's interesting how little vision both teams are running with. Like, when Sing Sing went for that rune, they had essentially no vision of that area at all. And then when Navi went for the smoke gank, they had no vision whatsoever of this area. So they kind of just walk into a trap. Not even maybe a purposeful trap, sort of just an accidental trap.
But it definitely worked in the favor of Speed Gaming. Now they have
For sure.
like huge momentum getting the kills on these solo heroes, taking down the Pudge multiple times over. I mean, you look at the gold graph and you see 1,500 as well as experience leading towards 1,800. It's just gonna be setting them up for huge success here, and Kurokai doesn't stand a chance in mid.
How much work has Pylai done this game? Maybe the least appreciated player on this Speed Gaming team, but he's 1-0-5, so he's been part of 6 of 7 kills. He made Bone 7 on Clockwork get a big advantage over Ghost's Lifestealer in the laning phase by taking away XP and just, you know, providing that little bit of harassment. He set up, I believe, the first blood.
Oh no.
He's been everywhere and done everything.
Funnick in a bad spot. There's going to be a perfect arrow underneath the Cogs, brought down, and that is 8-3 in favor of Speed. And yeah, like you're saying with the Lich, it's all about, it doesn't matter where Lich starts, it's all about where he goes and where he puts the pressure out. And so far we've seen assistance down bottom, assistance in mid, just either a little bit of an experience stimulus or just a little bit of extra damage. All that they need. But we do see finally the first offensive Pudge hook. Will it actually get the kill? Yes, he does. And he gets a suicide. Completely lucked out. But now the Fiend Spear comes down to Bone 7 and Havos is able to chew on through to finish him off. Yes, the Brain Sap will conclude that kill. So they do get 2 and a suicide. That is really, really good.
Very critical for Navi. At this, they ran the risk of really falling behind there. So at least they got the hook. They got the setup. They trade for the Clockwork, holding him off his Blade Mail for just a little bit longer, although he's still only 100 gold away. And hey, they killed Lich. Not the easiest task, honestly. You basically have to hit a hook because he has this, the new Tranquil Boots, aka Mini Heart of Tarask, and he has infinite mana based on sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. So it's difficult, but they were able to set something up very, very nicely there, and that's pretty much what they need to keep doing. They have an urn, so if they get kills, they get momentum, and of course retroactively, Dendi stacks, Flesh Heap stacks. So kills is what Navi needs, it's just unfortunately not what they have. Surprisingly, with a very gank-oriented lineup still sitting at only 5, and just fishing for Pylai here in mid. Instead, fishing arrow, gonna go right on top of Funnick. Oh, just narrowly. But again, the standing still jukes. All you have to do against Sing Sing is not move at all, and he'll be predicting a little bit too hard.
It's the Yomi levels, man. He knows that they're gonna move in a certain direction, is predicting that way.
Oh, there's a hook onto Razor, gets dismembered, and that is a guaranteed kill. Arrow will actually hit on Pudge, but not really gonna mean too much here.
Yeah, so you really just can't ever count Navi out when they have Dendi Pudge, because 2 hooks, and this is just a completely different game than it was before them. Like, now Navi are suddenly looking like, you know, they are capable of getting things done here. Funnick is hanging onto a haste rune, too, so if this Night Stalker is zipping around at 522, will they find a kill on Dendi?
They should. They are going to get a guaranteed Cogs right here. He cannot dismember, and now his teammates have to abandon him. Dendi, at best, can get a suicide. That's not going to work out. Bone 7 to high ground, right with the Chain Frost. Not going to hurt Havost, but they do clean up the Bane, trading for the Clockwork 2 for 1, and now Funnick is on the chase with the drums. He has great movement speed, but he's all by himself right now and has to fall back.
Yeah, actually that was still one for one with a Dendi denial again.
Oh, he did?
So
oh my gosh, the luck on this guy. But actually now damage on Havos. Funnick with the haste rune wants to pursue. There is still the familiar stun though, coming right off cooldown. Funnick in a bad spot, but is able to run just barely out of range. Havos cleaning up on Pylai and now running for the hills. Actually getting bursted down. Nowhere for him to go. He is gonna fall.
Yeah. These are important kills for AUI. Until this fight, he was actually the lowest level by 1 or 2 on in the entire game. but now he's level 8 even with Bane and Enchantress. So he has everything he needs at this point. He has Soul Assumption up to 4. He has Summon Familiars. One kind of cool thing we're seeing, and this is again adaptivity to the new patch, he's taken 2 ranks in Gravekeeper's Cloak, which you would not typically expect by 8. But Visage is quite the squishy little bugger now, so he needs those extra ranks.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Now he's still going for the kind of standard build for him. Aoi loves to micro those familiars. Oh, missed the hook on the mid. And a hook in return, gonna connect onto Sing Sing, who has that leap. And now actually Dendi getting a little bit far in over his head. But with the arrow not connecting, they're gonna all retreat from here. But yeah, talking about the Visage having to play defensively, he's building up very durable items, of course going for that old school Aghanims because he loves microing that third familiar. But on top of that, he needs to, in conjunction with Gravekeeper's Cloak, just to stay alive. Because he's easily the first target. I mean, he, like you said, 10% magic resistance by default, no base armor whatsoever. He needs every little bit of cloak that he can get.
Yeah, I really like, by the way, this game started out 2-1-2 and then went to 5v5 mid battles for
exactly.
like 5 minutes or so. Now people are fading out and walking to their lanes because, I mean, there's still so many outer towers up. There's plenty of space to free farm. Nobody needs to overcommit, and I think especially Speed Gaming are probably regretting that they tried to completely just punch through Navi with that 5v5 mid, because they gave away a lead, more or less. I don't think Navi's really behind at all now.
No. Now, I have a question for you. Looking at the changes to gold gain and making it every 0.6 seconds you get an unreliable gold, the supports in general should be more, have a little bit more going for them as far as their item sets go. So why are there not as many wards up on the board? Why is it that they're not as active about...
My question is, why doesn't Navi still have any detection?
Yeah.
I don't get this.
Yeah, it's
Moonlight Shadow.
Yeah, it's all of that. It's detection, it's observer wards, it's mechanism. None of that is being picked up, and it's kind of surprising. The support's going a little bit greedy, just despite the fact they have more gold to work with.
Well, Blaze, if let's say you were given like somebody walks up to you and says, "I'm gonna give you like $10." Every second for the next like day. Are you gonna spend it on like utilities? No, you're gonna like buy video games or whatever. Sure
enough. Good analogy there. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it adds up very, very quickly. It's not a hand of Midas, but it's extra gold that they can build towards more core mid to late game items. It's just I'm worried that that's weakening their early game strength, which is where Speed Gaming strives. And now the hook shot onto Havos, getting drained of all of his damage. He can't do anything to Clockwork. And now he is easy pickings. The hook will miss. The arrow will not. Dendi gets stunned out for over 4 seconds. The Moonlight Shadow for initiation. They've already taken the Bane. Now looking for the kill onto Dendi. Calling it USCs. There's the hyphen ping. And yeah, now we're seeing Dendi drop down in the cogs and Puppey being chased and drop down.
Speaking of their detection, they had just picked up Gem. Funnick's gonna get it with the Invis Rune. This is actually an enormous coup for Navi to be able to walk away from this with the Gem. Wow, that's a critical save. Good work by Funnick.
Picked up by Puppey not a minute ago, and good that they've reclaimed it because that 850 gold down the drain, brutal.
That was a really good setup by like Speed Gaming. Everything except not picking up the gem was amazing there. The hook shot combined with static link was just so powerful. Even more powerful in that case than the hook shot chain frost combo that they had a few minutes ago. Kvost at this point is reduced to cutting creeps. I mean, he has had a pretty good game, honestly. He's completely caught up on farm. He's tied on levels. He's got Armlet moving towards what looks like Basher.
Initiation coming out. Oh, it's going to be an arrow onto Funnick, and now they can just burst down Kurokai as fast as they want to. Funnick as well. The hook onto Dendi means he cannot do anything in this fight, and instead he'll get dropped. Puppey limping away. Havos actually in a terrible, terrible spot. He had the rage, but he didn't TP, and now he pays for it with his life.
Yeah, Speed Gaming at this point are just choking out Navi. I mean, the last couple fights have gone so incredibly well for them. And Pudge, there was this area in the middle where Speed were kind of playing into Dendi by allowing people to be in positions where they could get hooked. But in that big 5v5 engagement, they just target him out, they kill him. Certainly, it's very, very hard. Pudge is such a land-based hero, and I mean, Navi knew that they were playing on difficult ping territory, so Dendi 1 and 6, although at least 2 or 3 of those are denies, so it's less bad than it looks for him.
Yeah, he did get a couple of very, very lucky suicides, but nevertheless, they're in a very bad spot. Not only the 11 kill disadvantage, but the Roche about to go down, and the fact that they have only claimed 1 tower at this point in the game. It's just seems like nothing's going right for them, and they have to get some amazing pickoffs in order for this to work out in their favor. Now, they are getting some core items on Havos. He has the armlet. He's looking for the Basher, but Until we see that blink dagger on Dendi, I'm not going to be satisfied.
Until I see blink ags on Dendi, I'm not going to be satisfied. But he's still working on power treads. This is the thing about Pudge Denies. Sure, it's great. I mean, it's wonderful to not give gold to the opposing team, but you still died. It's not like it shortens. It's not techies. You're not getting a smaller death timer. It's all time that you're not spending farming, you're not spending leveling, and you end up with this level 9 Pudge trying to hook an entire team that's higher level than him. Every single person on Dire is higher level than Pudge.
Mm-hmm. And I also got to give props to Bone7 on this Clockwork. We already knew his Clockwork was incredible, but the way he's been playing it against Dendi, it's just...
Orchid?
Oh, actually. Yeah, moving towards Orchid. Wow. If he didn't want somebody to cast a channel effect before, now it's just 100%. I mean, right now, he can just sit on top of somebody with his Battery Assault and continuously stun them. If they have a BKB, he can go ahead and hookshot them, and now he has the Orchid for the other. He can pretty much take out 2 ultimates with just himself in this one item.
Yeah, I mean, Bone7's Clockwork is absolutely crazy, and here it's, yeah, I mean, as you said, Blaze, now that he doesn't have the Orchid yet, but he's actually...
Oh, gets the Lich, not going to get the Chain Frost here, big pick off, but actually almost gets free with those stuns. Now Bone7 right on top of Funnick, big damage coming out, he's hurting himself, no, defensive Nightmare, nice play by Kurokai, and now they're going to turn around with the Fiend's Grip onto Sing Sing, got the Centaur in position, do they have the damage though? The mechanism says otherwise, he stays up, he leaps out and gets away with 80 HP, while Eternal Envy dies onto Night Stalker, now onto Puppey, 2 more right clicks is all he needs, but they're so slow with that Untouchable, there's going to be the final spell cast to finish him off. Kurokai and Havost, meanwhile, chasing down on Clockwork, they get that kill, but now in a bad position here. Havost inside a creep, and may remain there. Nope, just gonna jump out and try to head for the hills, but there's all the spells in the book to finish him off.
Interesting, he probably... I wonder if he still feels like the rage is shorter cooldown than it actually is. It's very long now. A full 19 seconds, that's a year and a half for your typical lifestealer. Yeah, another tough fight for Navi, honestly. They still haven't lost the gem, which is what I was looking at. Kuroki is still hanging on to it. Now placing just crap tons of vision here for Observer Wards up. And Funnick, he's not too far off of Aghanim Scepter. Once they have Aghanim Scepter gem, they will be able to potentially turn around Speed Gaming's big Moonlight Shadow Blaze.
Yeah.
And honestly, a huge turnaround, like a big, chaotic, unpredictable team fight, is at this point probably the only thing Navi can rely on.
Nope, not anymore. It looks like Havost is out of here. Calling GG. Yeah. I don't blame them whatsoever. They had a momentum-based lineup that just didn't find the kills. So.
Wow. I'm surprised he says he's just Dunsky out of this game, but you know, the Pudge Gambit didn't really work out the way they were planning. High ping, whatever you want to call it, they couldn't get enough done.
Exactly that. So that is the conclusion of Game 1 of Speed Gaming versus Navi. Some very exciting picks and some pretty cool plays, but as a whole, a rather one-sided engagement. We do see them finishing it off 23-10 at only 23 minutes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Dota 2 Champions League. I myself am Blaze. If you enjoyed the cast, you can check me out at twitter.com/blazecasting, provide some feedback or what have you for the commentary, and it has been a great pleasure to cast alongside you once again, Vikramond.
Yeah, Blaze. Good times. And yeah, people can check me out. VYKROMOND. Alright, peace.
See you later, man. GG's. We'll go on to Game 2 of this Best of 3 series in just a few minutes.